This right here is the CMF Phone 2 Pro. And this is the Nothing Phone 3A. Now, when you compare the specs of both these phones, you will notice a lot of similarities in the display, the battery size, the camera hardware, and more. At the same time, there are also a few differences. For example, the chipset, the charging speed, and a few other parameters. Now, while I am going to review the CMF Phone 2 Pro in depth in this video, I also want to answer the question that a lot of you might be asking. Should I save some money and buy the Phone 2 Pro, or should I spend more for the Phone 3A? Well, I'll definitely answer those questions and more in this video where I'm going to be reviewing the CMF Phone 2 Pro and comparing it with the Nothing Phone 3A. Alright, if you're here for the first time, I'm Ashad. This is Trakin Tech English, your destination for detailed, incisive gadget reviews. Let's start off with the fact that Nothing has made major changes to the design of the CMF Phone 2 Pro. It's slimmer and lighter compared to the predecessor, the CMF Phone 1. In fact, it is actually slimmer and lighter than the Nothing Phone 3A as well. Now, CMF wants to stay true to its name, color, material, finish, and gives the option in your hand of picking the color of your choice, the material of your choice, and the finish of your choice. Actually, not the material, the color and the finish of your choice. So there are two options. There is a dual tone option and a single tone option. The dual tone option has this orange color and a white color variant. Now, unfortunately, the white variant is not coming to India, but thankfully Nothing did send one across to us and it looks very nice. And the single tone variant has the light green color and the black color. The light green and the black variant have a glass-like frosted texture on the rear, and the side is like a metallic finish plastic frame, which I'm generally not a fan of because if you're plastic, own it. No need to make it feel like metal or look like it. Now, the orange one, of course, has two shades of orange, as you can tell. The first shade at the bottom is like this reflective glass-like texture with a metallic shade to it and like a metallic texture also to it, and at the top is a coarse matte finish. Now, of all the colors that we have here in India, I like the orange one the best, but I feel like if I see the white one, that could be my favorite. Now, I know that a lot of people will be like, hey Ashad, that's the wrong color you're picking, the orange one doesn't look good, but that's your opinion. I really like the orange color. It's bold, it's fresh, it's captivating, and it's also CMF's first color that they introduced. Also, if you look at it, I really love this exposed screws design. It is very grunge. It's very industrial. It looks very, very cool and stands out, especially for a budget phone. I really don't care what anyone thinks, but I feel like Nothing's engineers are really some of the best in the industry right now, and they're cooking really hard to come up with such designs. But that's aesthetic in nature. Aesthetically, it looks good, but the functional aspects that they've added to the new design seems to be causing some problems, and let's discuss that. Now, firstly, you get these individual camera rings. Now, it definitely looks better than the camera island that you have on the CMF Phone 1. Not only does it look good, but it also adds an extra layer of functionality. Essentially, what you can do is that you can buy additional camera lenses. Basically, you have the option of macro and fisheye, and attached to this on the universal cover. It does look cool and it does add functionality, but you have to go through a lot of hoops to make this happen with the universal cover, no less. Yes, which is something that you have to buy separately as well. By the way, to add that universal cover, you will have to take this screw out, add the universal cover on top of it, and then screw both of them back together. Again, it's quite a bit of a process. Anyway, I'll talk about the performance of the lenses in a bit. But with the universal cover, what you also get as an additional accessory that you can buy separately is a wallet plus stand accessory. The quality of this accessory is fantastic. I love it. It's very good. But the universal cover itself, the quality is not very good. It looks like a very cheap 3D printed sort of piece, and it doesn't feel like an accessory that I would pay money for. The other concern that I have with the design is that in a bid to make the phone slim, they also made the screw slim. Yeah, the screw at the bottom is of course something that is very unique to the CMF Phone series. Along with the Phone 1, you also have that on the Phone 2 Pro now. But look at this, it's like extremely slim. And right now I was unscrewing it very easily, but when we tried to do it for the first time, oh my god, it was almost impossible. And I have a feeling that if you're not careful with it, you can snap it in two. Trust me. By the way, you can get accessories for this. For example, the lanyard loop is one of them. But beyond that, the Phone 1 did have one extra accessory, which was a stand. But right now, it's not in stock. Maybe Nothing might replenish it later. So I feel like in a bid to make a slim and a light phone, Nothing sort of compromised on the build quality of the phone, which is a bit of a letdown. And now in comparison, when I look at it, the Phone 3A is actually kick-ass in terms of build quality, because of course you've got a plastic frame, but you've got glass on the rear and the front. You also get a better IP rating and a proper stereo speaker setup compared to mono speakers that you get with the CMF Phone 2 Pro. And however hard a brand tries, the stereo speaker will always sound better than a mono speaker. Take a listen to it for yourself. By the way, I completely forgot a couple of things. You get a hybrid SIM slot with the phone, and you also have that new Essential key, which was introduced first with the Nothing Phone 3A series. Now, don't be forgetful like me. Don't be a bullockard. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because otherwise later you might forget it. That's what I'm telling you. By the way, more about that Essential key soon. Now let's talk about the display. And the display on the Phone 2 Pro is actually fantastic considering its price. So what you get is the exact same display that's on the Nothing Phone 3A as well. Yes, the exact same. You can see the specs on your screen right now. The first real advantage of having this display is that you get a flexible AMOLED display, which means that it can curve at the bottom, which means that the chin is smaller compared to the CMF Phone 1. That's not it, the bezels are slimmer and they're symmetrical, and therefore you get more screen estate compared to the Phone 1. Plus, now the CMF Phone 2 Pro's display can get really, really bright. Just take a look at it in comparison with the Phone 3A outdoors. It's just fantastic on both. Now you do get HDR video playback on YouTube, but not on Netflix, which is also true for the Nothing Phone 3A. And the HDR gradation has been done really well. It's almost flagship grade, where you get like really good control over the highlights and the shadows, and there is no part where the highlights are overexposed, which is fantastic for a phone that's under 20,000 rupees. But what's interesting to note is that the CMF Phone 2 Pro's display gets brighter when you're watching HDR videos on YouTube compared to the Phone 3A, and this is a more expensive phone. Now when you look at the color tuning on the CMF Phone 2 Pro's display, it's not as good as it is on the Phone 3A. The Alive mode makes it pop a little too much, but with the standard mode, the colors are reined in, but not enough for it to look close to neutral, which is true for the Phone 3A. What I also liked is that the CMF Phone 2 Pro's haptics have been largely improved compared to the Phone 1. It's tighter and more precise now. Having said that, the Phone 3A's haptics are even better. Now, of course, both these phones also come with an optical in-display fingerprint scanner. They're fast at registering fingerprints and unlocking them. So there's no problem as such over there that I noticed, except for the fact that I would have liked it if the scanner was slightly higher, but mostly optical scanners are lower. The display experience on the CMF Phone 2 Pro is much better than what I expected it to be, and it is definitely better than the Phone 1 for sure, and sometimes even better than the Phone 3A, which is something that I never expected that I would say. Only if nothing had added stereo speakers, that would have just elevated the experience. Alright, there's not much to be said about the performance of the CMF Phone 2 Pro because it's got specs that we've tested on multiple phones. Basically, you get a MediaTek Dimensity 7300 Pro, you get LPDDR4 XRAM type and UFS 2.2 storage, which is standard on many phones in this price class. Eshat, Pro, 7300 Pro, it could be different. No, it's not. It's just the same. Take a look at the Antutu score and the Geekbench score in comparison with other 7300 phones that we have tested. Anyway, in comparison with the Phone 3A, if you look at it, the Phone 3A's Snapdragon 7S Gen 3, it's obviously more powerful. You get better Antutu scores, you get better Geekbench scores. Even the CPU throttle test that we run, which is 40 threads for 30 minutes, it's better at CPU stability compared to the Phone 2 Pro. And it goes without saying that the GPU performance is also superior on the Phone 3A. We played Genshin Impact at highest graphics and target 60 frames per second, and we got a higher average FPS, which is to be expected on the Phone 3A compared to the Phone 2 Pro. But one good thing about the CMF Phone 2 Pro and CMF in general is that whatever chipset they use, they tend to give you the best performance that you can get from it. So with, say for example, something like BGMI, you do get 120 FPS unlocked by default, which is awesome. Now when you look at the everyday usage, it's good on both, but there's one specific thing where I found an issue, which I will mention in the software section of the review, so stay tuned for that. Now battery specs are largely unchanged from the CMF Phone 1. You get the same 5000 mAh battery, but in a slimmer form factor and 33 watt charging speeds as well. But the good thing is that you get the charger inside the box now, along with the transparent silicone case, which is average in quality. But here's the thing, this is purely an experiment that Nothing is trying specifically for the CMF Phone 2 Pro in India only, so only Indian users will get the battery and the case inside the box. Now will this be true for all the phones in the future in the country that Nothing launches? Well, maybe not. Anyway, battery life on both, by the way, 5000 mAh battery should be anywhere in the vicinity of 8 hours of screen on time, which is good. But you know, and I know that there are many phones right now with like 6000, 7000, 7300 mAh batteries out there, and you can definitely expect better battery performance from that. So if you want like 2 days, 3 days of battery life, it's better to go with those phones, but still you can get 1.5 days from this phone for sure. Now charging speeds, of course, considering this is 33 watt and that's 50 watt, it's faster on the Nothing Phone 3 compared to the Phone 2 Pro. Now let's talk about the network capabilities, and I feel like Nothing's done a really good job with the CMF Phone 2 Pro. You get a bunch of 5G band support, and I was using 5G Geo in Mumbai, and I was constantly seeing 5G++, which is damn nice, and the performance is very good, very fast. But the only thing that I was missing with the Phone 2 Pro is the fact that you do not get NFC support, which is there on the Phone 3A. Alright, now time to talk about that hyped triple camera setup on the CMF Phone 2 Pro. Of course, course, the primary camera sensor is much larger now, so much so that Nothing is touting that it is possibly the largest sensor on a phone under rupees 20,000. The secondary is the same telephoto that's used on the Nothing Phone 3A. It's a 2x camera, which is damn nice. You also get an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera and a 16 megapixel selfie camera on the front, which is 32 megapixel on the Phone 3A. Now, these are of course camera specs, but how do they perform? Let's find out. Now, when we were shooting with the Phone 2 Pro, we noticed that the primary camera captures over-sharpened images. When you look at the 100% crop, I definitely like the Phone 3A better here. The HDR stacking is not too bad. It is very similar to the Phone 3A. Whether you're shooting landscape or people against the light, it's actually doing a fairly decent job. Although the colors are very badly tuned on the Phone 2 Pro. You can tell that from the tuning in this picture very clearly. It captures almost every single shade wrong. The Phone 3A does a much better job. Skin tones are even worse. This is objectively bad tuning from the CMF team, if you ask me. The warmer Phone 3A skin tones look so pleasing in comparison. In fact, if you look at it, Arnav is looking entirely blue here. It's a little too cool, including the shirt. I also prefer the portrait mode at 1x, at 2x, at 3x and 4x on the Phone 3A compared to the Phone 2 Pro, because firstly, it captures more details on the face, and more importantly, the portrait cutout is better. That's not it. There seems to be some color sense inconsistency between the different sensors on the Phone 3A Pro, especially between the primary and the telephoto. The telephoto is good, but the tuning is very off again. I have a suspicion that the Snapdragon ISP with the Phone 3A is actually doing it more favors and doing a better job than the MediaTek Dimensity ISP that you get with the Phone 2 Pro. Now, even the ultrawide, despite being an 8 megapixel shooter on both, is far superior on the Phone 3A in almost every single scenario. Selfies are again more detailed on the Phone 3A. They're also better at night and better at HDR as well. Video recording, while possible at 4K 30 FPS on both, is again far superior on the Phone 3A. You get better stabilization, more details, cleaner exposure handling, and superior sound recording.
So this video is shot using the Nothing Phone 3A and the CMF Phone 2. Both are using its primary lens to record this video at 4K 30 FPS. So yeah, you guys let me know.
In fact, if you take one look at the low light footage, you will see what's wrong with the Phone 2 Pro immediately. The video recording capabilities of the Phone 3A are far superior compared to the Phone 2 Pro. So while the Phone 2 Pro has impressive camera hardware for a phone under rupees 20,000, all that effort has gone into adding the hardware and not really tuning it to perform well, and many updates are needed to fix the camera performance. Right now, I feel like Nothing can do it. Maybe they will. But the one good thing about the CMF Phone 2 Pro is the fact that you can buy additional attachments and they actually do function really well. For example, that fisheye lens is very good at creating the fisheye effect, and the macro, when you attach it to a very high quality lens like the primary camera, it actually does capture really good macros. Now, the CMF Phone 2 Pro's biggest advantage is this. Yeah, Nothing OS 3.2 based on Android 15. And Nothing is also promising 3+6 years of OS updates. I've obviously spoken at length about what you can expect from Nothing OS 3. If you haven't watched those videos yet, a link should pop up right now. Go check it out. You will get all your answers and all you need to know. But why I say that the software experience is specifically good on the Phone 2 Pro or on Nothing phones for that matter is the fact that you get a very clean install with absolutely no bloatware whatsoever. And the design language, if you look at it, is very clean, it's very unique, and it's something that no other brand is trying to match right now. It's pretty awesome if you ask me. There are also a bunch of very real life user experience based features added to the software experience. For example, the fact that you can have quick settings in the lock screen, you can have large widgets, you can have widgets with different icons, lots of different things. The other reason why it's awesome is because the animations are actually tuned fairly well, especially on the Phone 3A and on the Phone 2 Pro as well. But with the Phone 2 Pro, I noticed that there were some stutters once in a while in animation, not all the time, but once in a while. Especially if you open the camera app and when you close it, I noticed a stutter which wasn't there in the Phone 3A. Alright, now I told you I'll talk about the essential key. Well, the essential key essentially lets you create memories. You can take screenshots of whatever is there on your screen and add voice notes on top of it. And AI will sort of, try to use all of that information to create some sort of summaries for you. Or say, for example, if you ask it to create a reminder, it will probably do that for you. All of that is really nicely done. Now, apart from that, in the newer update to the essential key button, you can actually take screenshots with the camera app as well. So basically, if you're seeing something something through the lens of the phone, you can actually shoot that and create memories, which is something that I wanted and which is something that nothing has done now. Overall, the operating system experience is one of the major reasons why I will recommend this phone. It's very premium. Now, after testing the CMF Phone 2a Pro, I felt like for 18,999 for the 128GB variant, it's actually a good phone for anybody who wants the best kind of specs that you can find in this price range, which is nice. But I feel like nothing could have held back a little with the hardware specs that it added to the Phone 2 Pro. Because compared to the predecessor, the build quality has taken a bit of a hit in a bit to make it slimmer, and the camera tuning is, left me wanting for more for sure. It's good hardware when you look at it on paper, but it doesn't have the finesse in real world. And it also becomes slightly disappointing because I feel like the Phone 3a feels way more premium, it has better processor, and it also has a fairly decently tuned cameras as well. Now, while the CMF Phone 2 Pro is a good phone under Rs 20,000, I don't think it's great, and there are some good compelling alternatives in this price range as well. Now, what do you guys think of the Phone 2 Pro and my review, of course, in the comment section below so we can have a conversation there, and I'll see you guys in my next review. Until then, keep tracking and stay safe.